Welcome to Introduction to Foster Care, Asheville Humane Society's foster orientation program. We thank you so much for joining us and for being willing to give your time, space and energy, and lots of love to animals in need. I'm Kim Roberts. I'm the Foster Care Coordinator. You can contact me at 828-768-5451 or email me at foster@ashevillehumane.org. My working hours are 9 to 6, Tuesday through Saturday, when you can both pick up animals, bring animals in for rechecks, or return animals. We also have some appointments that you can schedule for Monday if needed. First, let's talk a little bit about who we are. Asheville Humane Society has an adoption and education center, the big red building that you'll see when you come in. This adoption center is operated by the Asheville Humane Society, and we're a nonprofit organization. We're funded by grants and privately donated funds. My office is in the very back of the Adoption and Education Center. We also have a parking area specifically for foster parents in the back. All of our appointments are typically in the foster care office. We have my office, a waiting area that's stocked full of supplies, as well as a small satellite medical office right next door. So all your appointments should be with me in the foster office, unless we make other plans for, say, a Monday or a day that I'm not here. The building next door, the gray building, is the Buncombe County Animal Shelter. Asheville Humane Society has a contract to operate the sheltering and housing of the animals in the animal shelter. The foster care program is actually considered part of the animal shelter program, even though it is housed in the Adoption Education Center, and it is funded by the Asheville Humane Society. So our foster program is really sort of a dual program. It goes from one side to the other. So often what the foster program is that link between the animal shelter and the adoption center, and you now will become a very important part of that link. When you do come for your foster appointments, we do have the designated parking area in the back that I mentioned, but it can be kind of difficult to find. When you first come into the parking area, you'll be looking straight out the government building, the county shelter. It's gray. Go to the right, as though you're going to go behind that building. So keep driving around. You'll drive through the parking lot and then a gate in the back. Don't let the gate fool you. A lot of people will get panicked and turn around and come back. Keep going. There's no place else to end up but right outside our door. So just keep going. Pull up right behind the foster office. There'll be a sign there that says reserved foster parent parking. Pull all the way in. If for some reason that parking spot is taken and you're only going to be in for a short time, just park wherever you can find a spot. Come in and let me know where you're parked. It makes it so much easier for you to pick up animals and to pick up supplies as well as to return animals, because you'll be right outside the door. So when you open your car door, the first door right by the sidewalk is the foster office. So welcome. Hopefully this will make it a little easier for you. So what is the foster program and who needs it? Well, we have all kinds of animals who need our foster program. So often we get animals in who are just too young and small to be able to go up for adoption. Those animals need special care to reach their full weight, to be able to be spayed or neutered and be made ready for adoption. We also often get mothers who are nursing puppies or kittens. Also, they need a lot of TLC until not only the puppies and kittens are ready, but until the mother's milk has dried up and they're able to be spayed. We have animals who are sick, recovering from surgery, maybe they're pre or post surgery, maybe need dental work. We often get animals in with a variety of injuries as well that need foster care. Because we do operate the housing component of the shelter, we often get animals in who are very scared. Maybe they haven't had a lot of socialization, or they're just really frightened because of the stress of being in that environment. So we also have foster homes that provide a lot of TLC and socialization. We see this most often with frightened kittens. We do have some special information that we can provide you to work with these kittens. It's a wonderful, rewarding responsibility to help bring kittens from a fearful state to one where they can become a loving animal in an adoptive home. We also have some animals that just need manners. Oftentimes you'll see that with our dogs. Dogs who have just basic behavior issues. They might be a little rowdy. Maybe they just aren't used to walking on a leash. Maybe they just need to be socialized a little bit. But that's a wonderful service to offer, because then that makes the dog much more adoptable when they reach the adoption center. Sometimes we actually have just healthy animals who we would like to put into a foster home because we are really short on space. So those animals are just waiting for an opening to come into the adoption center. You help us out a lot because you not only give that animal a break, get to know a little bit about them, which is always useful in finding a new adoptive home, but you also free up a space for another animal who's coming into the shelter. The other thing that we sometimes need is vacation. We all need a vacation sometimes, and if you're stuck in a kennel or a cage for days or weeks, you'd probably need a vacation too. So you can really help a lot by just providing that loving TLC, a little vacation respite from a kennel or cage for an animal that might just be a little bit stressed from the environment or from being there for a while. Medical terminology. Many of the animals that come into our system and need foster care are sick. Or once they get here, because they're stressed and viruses can easily be passed from animal to animal, they become sick. The most common thing that we see is an upper respiratory infection, we commonly refer to as the URI. This is very similar to a cold, or can be similar to a flu as well, depending on how serious the symptoms are. Sometimes you'll see nasal discharge, sneezing, runny eyes, the cough that you can hear, congestion in the chest. So just think about when you or maybe a child has a cold and you can just hear the sound in the chest. So it can be anything from just a mild sneezing to very severe symptoms of congestion. They'll become lethargic, won't want to eat, and it's really difficult for them to recover from that while they're in the shelter environment, not to mention that it is contagious and we have limited isolation space. So you would offer such a great service if you can foster a dog, cat, puppy, or kitten that has an upper respiratory infection. It's very easy to take care of and manage, very much like a cold or flu. We can help you through that, but it would be a wonderful help if you could open your home to a cat or dog with an upper respiratory. For some of the dogs, we also see the kennel cough, which is something you've probably heard of. You'll get that dry hacking sound or even a honking sound. There might be a little bit of discharge. They might cough up something, just usually clear liquid, but that's something that you'll see in the dogs who have sort of an upper respiratory and kennel cough happening for them. Same sort of thing where we just need to get them into a foster home where they can have their stress reduced, and we can also open up a space for another dog who may be sick. Another thing that we have been seeing a lot of is heartworm disease. Right now we have almost a dozen dogs in foster care who have heartworms. That's not unusual. Heartworms impair the circulation, damage the heart, lungs, liver, and kidneys. Some of the advanced signs of heartworm disease are difficulty breathing, coughing, they tire very easily, they might be lethargic, very listless, you might see some loss of weight and even fainting. That's something that we can treat here, and we do. So if you are interested in fostering a dog with heartworms, it's a wonderful service. It takes a while for the heartworm treatment. It can be anywhere from 4 to 5 months, but a foster family can volunteer to just foster for a short period of time. Anything to give the animal a break and some extra care while they're recovering, and also be able to offer space for another animal who needs that kennel. The other thing that we do see is mange. No, this isn't the mange that you're thinking of that is contagious. This is Demodex mange. It's not contagious to humans or other dogs, but it can cause some very unsightly hair loss, and the skin can look a little bit difficult. It can be hard for people to see that. It's not usually painful. There might be some itching, but it is something we can treat. Again, it just takes some time. With the Demodex mange, might be 30 days, it might be a little longer, but usually that can be treated fairly easy with a regular daily medication. Of all the things that we typically see, the URI, kennel cough, heartworm, and mange, the two that are contagious are the upper respiratory and the kennel cough. But it is contagious dog to dog and cat to cat. It doesn't cross species. If you do have other animals, the ideal way to be able to still help us out by fostering an animal with an upper respiratory is to keep your animals separate from your foster animals. If your animals are healthy, up to date on their vaccines, then the risk of transmission is minimal. It is still there, but it is minimal, and we do truly need people who can make adjustments and be able to foster animals that have an upper respiratory. So please consider that, and if you have questions about that and would like more in-depth information, you can always contact me, and we can talk with our medical department. So how does an animal actually get into the foster program? Once they come into the county shelter, what happens? I'm sure that's something that you have been wondering about. Before I describe what actually happens, I'll just take you through the pictures because those are a little distracting. They're so cute. Augie came in. He was actually born in the shelter. His mother was brought into the shelter, and she gave birth to 11 puppies. And as you can see, the process of fostering goes everywhere from birth all the way to adoption. And in this case, we were lucky enough to have some photos of Augie, who's now named Brady, in his loving adoptive home. He's doing great, and you can see what happens. This is just part of what happens when an animal goes into the foster program, and the different stages that they can go through. So when an animal actually enters into the Buncombe County Animal Shelter, if the animal is a stray animal, they'll have to be held for what we call a stray wait period. There's a legal holding time that they have to stay. That's so that we can make sure that if an owner is out there, that they can find their animal. Usually after that, the animal will receive a behavior and medical evaluation. This is a really important part of what the county shelter does. Make sure that they are healthy. If they're not healthy, that's a lot of times when the foster program will come into play, is if an animal does have heartworms, becomes sick, or actually was entered into the shelter sick. Behavior evaluation is also a great tool to help us get a better handle on what the animal's needs might be, as well as what would be a good match for a future adoptive home. If an animal isn't ready for adoption, that's really where the deciding factor is of, does this animal need foster? If they aren't ready to move over to the adoption center for any of the reasons that we discussed earlier, they might be sick or injured, have a behavior issue, might be too young, then the animal's placed on a list of animals in need of foster care. And that's my pending foster list. That just means that those animals are looking for foster homes. Once those animals are on my list, then I try to do matchmaking. That's when I look at the list and see who needs foster homes, and then look at the list of foster parents who are looking for fosters. Once we make a match, the animal will go into the foster home for anywhere from, it can be 2 weeks to 6 months. If it's just a vacation or space foster, it might just be a week. It varies considerably with the reason that the animal needs to go into foster care. And you can always let me know what would be your limit. You may only want to foster for 2 weeks at a time, and that's fine. Or you might be open to a longer foster, such as an animal who has heartworms. Once the animal's ready to come back, you bring them back to me in the foster office, and medical will do a final evaluation to make sure that they are ready to go in to the adoption center. And at that point, once they're ready to go into the adoption center, your job is done, and you saved a life. Once you return the animal, one of the best parts of the job is to let you know that your animal was adopted. That is sort of the closure that you get, saying, I took this animal from an animal that came into the shelter to an animal that is now in a permanent loving home. Most of the animals that come into the foster program and need foster care do come in through the county shelter. But sometimes we do have animals who are already in the adoption and education center that need to go into foster care. Usually what happens is the staff in the adoption center will identify that an animal is either sick, has a behavior issue, or might need a vacation. If the animal's sick, then our medical department will take a look at the animal, determine what exactly is wrong, and then develop a treatment plan. At that point, the animal is usually put onto the foster list to find a foster home for someone who could take a sick animal. If the animal has a behavior issue, then our behavior staff will look at the animal and determine what would be best as far as a behavior modification plan. And then that animal would also go on the list, and I would look for someone who's interested in working with animals that have behavior issues. Once they're placed in the foster home, just like with animals who come from the county shelter, it can vary in the length of time. If it's, again, a vacation or space issue, it could be just a week. But normally, if there's an illness or some other reason, such as a more serious behavior issue, it can be anywhere from 2 weeks to 6 months. Again, once the animal is ready to come back to the adoption center, you would return them to me in the foster office. Our medical program would look at the animal, make sure that they really are ready, that they're well, that the behavior issue is under control, and then they would be able to be put up for adoption. And you can see Millie. Millie is a kitten that came in through part of the cruelty case. Millie was put up for adoption, came down with a cold, had to go back into foster care, and then Millie was adopted again. So it took her a little while, but she did eventually make it back to the adoption floor where she found her permanent home. So how does the animal get into a foster home? Well, what I do is I contact foster parents with information about the type of animal, the breed, the age, the sex, why they need foster care, how long that might take, and what their special needs might be in the foster home. What we do after we've decided that this might be a good match for you is we schedule an appointment for you to pick up your foster animal. We also talk to you about how you can prepare your home for your foster. There might be some special needs such as fearful kittens who would need to be confined in a small space, or a mother with babies who would need a room big enough for her to be able to move around, but small enough so that they can stay safe and quiet. Then you come into the foster office to pick up your animal. Now, one of the things that we do is we look at all sorts of varieties of ways to reach out to our foster parents. Sometimes it is just a direct contact from me to a foster parent that I think I have a match for. But oftentimes, because we have so many animals on the list that need foster homes, I send out what I refer to as our foster pleas. And that's a plea to the foster parents to respond to one of the animals on the list that needs a foster home. We may do this by emails. That's probably the most common thing, is that once you're an active foster parent, you'll be on the email list. And what happens is periodically I'll send out emails. It may be about specific animals, or it may be about a general issue such as our isolation area for cats and kittens is full and we really need help with people who can take cats or kittens with colds. We also have a Yahoo group that we have started recently for people who want to know a little bit more regularly what our foster needs are. The Yahoo group can be a great resource. I do try to send out a list. It's a report that we print up that can go into the Yahoo group on pretty much a daily basis, and that will be a report that includes the basics about each of the animal, and then you can contact me if you see one that looks like it might be a fit for you. Part of the Yahoo group is that you can sign up to receive just every email that I send, because I may send more than one during the day, or you can just do what's called the digest mode, and it'll just be one a day. So it's really up to you whether you would mind receiving daily updates, or whether you would just want to be on the regular email list where you would just get periodic emails. And you can join the Yahoo group by just going to the Yahoo groups on the internet and then searching Asheville Humane Society Foster Buddies, and then just hit join, and then I will add you to that group. So now we've decided that we have a match and you're getting ready to come and pick up your animal. So what do? How do you prepare for your foster animal? How do you make sure that your home is safe for them and for you and for your family and animals? Well, for dogs, the one thing that I like to do is just walk into a room and look around. You need to figure out where you're going to keep your foster dog. So walk in, look around, see, is there anything in the room that might harm the dog? Is there anything in the room that's really valuable? Because we want to make sure that this is a good experience for you and the dog. So find the right room for a crate. If you're going to be using a crate, we can provide that. Make sure there's access to outdoors for bathroom breaks. Make sure that you look at things like what's sitting on your tables. Dogs can tail wagging can knock things off, and we don't want you to lose some priceless item because of a doggy tail. Make sure that if you have items that you really don't want chewed, drapes, couch, rug, pillows, anything like that, that you go ahead and remove those, because we just don't know if the dog will or will not chew. So we want to make sure to be on the playthings safe and go ahead and remove those things. Make sure that wires are covered, and so that they can't chew any electrical wires. Also, look for spaces that the dog could hide, and make sure that you have those spaces set up so that you can actually get to the dog, that it's not someplace that the dog can get to that you won't be able to get them back out. Also look at anything that is potentially a poison to the dog. Any plants that might be in the room, it's best to just take them out. So just do a once over in your room, then walk through the steps of what is it in the room that might hurt the dog? What do I not want to have hurt? What will the dog need in the room? And just do that before you come to pick up the dog, so that when you do bring the dog home, you're not stressed trying to figure out how to make this work out in the setting. Just make sure that you have a sense of how you want the foster dog to actually be in your home. And we can supply pretty much everything you need, including puppy tubs, or what you can see in the picture is actually a kiddie pool. They make fabulous nesting beds for moms with puppies. As you can see, that was Muppet. Muppet and her babies really had a great time in their tub. The nice thing was that while the puppies were big enough to move around, Muppet could easily get in and out and get away from the puppies for a little breather, and then get back in when she needed to let them nurse. So we even have a few kiddie pools that we can loan you. We provide food, food and water bowls, any medication that's needed. We'll give you collar and an ID tag and leash. We have treats, toys. We do have grooming supplies if you need those, as well as a volunteer groomer, so that if your foster dog does need grooming, you can let us know and we can make an appointment for that. We have lots of puppy pens. We have baby gates. Again, the kiddie pool. We have crates. You just want to make sure that if you do take a crate home, that you put that in a really quiet area, that you've got a blanket, which we can provide if you don't have one, and where you want to sleep, the crate to be, and where you want the dog to sleep. Do you want the dog to sleep in your bedroom in the crate? Sometimes it will be a little trial and error, figure out what works. But for the most part, the idea is think ahead about what you would like the situation to be for your foster dog and for you, so that you're prepared when your foster dog first comes home with you. So where should you house your foster dog? When your foster dog is inside, be sure that the dog is either crated or in an area that is doggy proofed. We don't know, again, what a dog will do in your home. So often the dogs that come into the county shelter are either stray, or if they are given up by an owner, we may not have all the information. And even if we do, the stress of going to the shelter into a new environment can be difficult for a dog, and they may not behave the same way they did in the home that they'd lived in for a long time. So just make sure that if you leave the dog alone and they're not crated, that you have a doggy-proof area. And when they're outdoors, make sure that they're on a leash at all times unless they're in a fenced yard. And if you do have a fenced yard, be sure to walk around the perimeter of your yard and make sure that there's no place that the dog can escape. And when the dog first goes out in the fenced yard, please be sure to monitor them very closely, because you won't know for sure if the dog is going to jump or will find a spot to get out. Foster dogs shouldn't be left alone outside for a long time, even if it is a nice fenced-in area that you feel like they are secure. You just want to make sure that you do monitor them, so don't leave them outside for long periods of time unattended. Also, sick dogs. Ideally, you do need to separate your animals, your dogs, from a dog that has an upper respiratory or kennel cough, because it is contagious to them. Again, the risk is reduced if your dogs are really healthy and fully up to date on their vaccination. It's much reduced, but it is ideal to keep your dog separated from any foster dogs that you bring in, and not only for illness, but just because it's hard to say how the foster dog might react or your dog might react, and it's just easier all around, I think, to keep a foster dog separate. If that can't be done, then we can help you with how to introduce your foster dog to your dogs. Off-leash community areas and dog parks, it's best not to take them there at all. So unless you really feel like you need to do that, we would ask that you not do it. A foster dog is really still the property of the Buncombe County Animal Shelter, and we just want to make sure that there's no injuries or any problems, anything that might happen. So it's best to keep your foster dog under your control at all times. So if you have puppies, and these are part of Melon's puppies, the 11 puppies I mentioned earlier, they were in a foster home, and they just happened to catch this adorable picture of all of them just about ready to learn how to go over the barrier. So when puppies are indoor, they should be housed in a room that where they have exposure to people, noises, and not small enough so that you can contain them and you can keep the area clean, because puppies can be a handful and can be quite messy, but you also want them in an area where they're going to be socialized. We don't want puppies to grow up fearful, not exposed to normal activities and normal noises. So the more exposure they can get to what happens in a household, the better it will be for them. When they're outdoors, puppies, unless they're fully vaccinated, should not be on the grass. There is a virus that can live in the grass that can be very deadly to puppies. So make sure that they're supervised, they're on a leash, and that if they're on the grass, that they're not allowed there unless they're fully vaccinated and 4 months old. So we do provide a lot of puppy pads, so don't worry, we can take care of puppies who need to be able to learn to eliminate in the house. You can use newspapers, but we also, like I said, we have puppy pads available to help you start potty training your puppies. And if you have sick puppies, be sure to, again, keep them separate from the other animals in your household so that they don't potentially give the illness to your dogs. And definitely do not take puppies to a community off-leash area or dog park. That with puppies, it's even more important that they not be exposed to potential viruses that could be deadly for them. If you're bringing home a cat or kitten, you also have to look at cat-proofing your house. Cats and kittens in particular can make it into some very odd places, so you want to make sure you do a thorough walkthrough of the location where you're going to be keeping your cats or kittens. Make sure that things like cleaning supplies, medications, anything like that are kept in closed cabinets and drawers that they can't open. Some cats and kittens can be very resourceful and can take their paws and open cabinet doors that don't have a latch. So just make sure there's nothing in there that would be really dangerous. Also, small items that they can chew, especially kittens, are notorious for chewing anything that they can get in their mouths. So make sure you look around for anything that they might chew on. Block areas and hiding places. If you lose a kitten in your house, it can be really difficult to find them. They're small and can go into places that you would never expect. And I have had quite a few foster parents who have misplaced kittens in their home. They were there, it's just that they couldn't find them in the room. They can get into places like going up behind your dresser and then up inside the drawers. They can get into places that you just would never imagine. So make sure to walk through and look at all levels. Get down on the floor, walk around and look up high. Just look all over the room to make sure that you've secured any areas that they could get into that you couldn't get them back out of. Also secure trash cans. There are things in trash cans, not only would it make a mess, but there are things that could be harmful to the cat or kittens. Make sure to hide and cover wires. Mini blind cords can be really dangerous for kittens and cats, so please make sure to secure those. Drapery and shower curtains, they just can be very appealing as a place to climb, so just know that that might happen. I know that with my draperies, anytime I have foster kittens, I always tie my draperies up so that they can't reach them. Definitely always remove your poisonous plants, any objects that you are concerned about, definitely to get out of the room. Make sure that any toys that you use are safe. I know that there are a lot of things that people can use that are great free cat toys. Wadded up paper, toilet paper rolls, the little rings off of milk cartons. There are a lot of little things like that that you can use for cats or kittens, but just make sure to think through, look at the toy, make sure that it doesn't have parts that can come off or something that can be swallowed by the kitten or that the kitten could get tangled up in. Also be very cautious when using recliners or closing drawers. Kittens can get up under into things that you might never expect. So it's best to always make sure that you have your eyes on your kittens when you're opening and closing drawers, as well as opening and closing recliners or any other seating like that that a kitten could be inside. We also supply all the kitty necessities that you'll need. Food, bowls for food and water, any medication you need. We have litter and litter boxes, and we have various sized litter boxes and types of litter boxes. We have scoopers and toys. We have grooming supplies if you need those. Sometimes we have scratching posts. It depends on if we've had those donated. So you can always ask me if you think that you would like one. Sometimes we get some really interesting fun toys that we can't use here that I'll keep in the foster office for foster parents. Also, we do have cat beds that we can provide if you need those, and crates and carriers as well. Sometimes we'll have some specialty items such as thermal beds or scales to weigh kittens. We don't always have those. It depends on what we get donated. But if you do have really small kittens, just let me know if there's something that you would like, and I'll see if we do have that available. And we're always looking for donations from the community for things like scales and other specialty items for our nursery kittens. So where should you house your foster cat or kittens? Keep them indoors at all times, and be really cautious about opening and closing doors. They may be curious and dart out. It's very easy for that to happen, so just be sure to be very vigilant about keeping your kittens and cats safe inside. As with dogs, you want to make sure that for the ideal situation, they would be separate from your other cats and animals, not only for adjustment, but also for any potential illness. Just like with the dogs, a kitten or cat who has an upper respiratory illness can pass that to your cat or kitten. Again, if your cat or kitten is healthy and fully vaccinated, the risk is much less, but the ideal situation would be to keep your cats or kittens separate. They can do great in something just like a laundry room or a bathroom or a spare bedroom. They don't need a ton of space, and it's also easier, especially if you're looking at a situation where you have an adult cat who might be afraid. Change is difficult for cats and might want to hide, so keeping them in a confined area where they can't hide, they can't get out, it'll make it much easier on them. And for kittens, because kittens can have difficulty figuring out where the food and water is if they have too big of a space, it's much easier to keep them confined in a smaller area. It also allows for more interaction where you can sit and play with the kittens in a small area and not have to have them wandering around the home. So definitely for at least the adjustment period, it's good to keep your kittens and cats in a smaller area. Once they're adjusted and you want to introduce them to the rest of the house, just make sure that you're monitoring them when they first start exploring the rest of the home, and that they are able to find their way back to their food, water, and their litter box. Picking up your foster pet. Now you're ready. You have your home set up, you know what you're picking up, and it's time. Please try to arrive when you're scheduled to pick up. We do have a very, very busy foster program, and we want to make this a very positive experience for you. And we really do respect your time and the fact that you're giving of your time and energy to come in and pick up a foster animal. So we want to make sure that it's a quick process and that you don't have to wait. So please try to arrive at a scheduled time. If you can't, please let me know as soon as possible if you need to reschedule. Please allow about 30 minutes for the pickup, depending on what the situation is. Typically, it would be around 30 minutes. If you've been a foster for a while, a lot of times you know the process, and it's very quick, and it might be even less than that. But go ahead and allow for 30 minutes just to be sure. When you come in, what will happen is we'll go through the paperwork. We'll let you sign in for the animal. If you're a first-time foster parent, you'll sign up for just becoming a foster parent. Again, that's not a huge process. It shouldn't just take but a few minutes to get that paperwork done. Then we'll go over the instructions for the particular animal or animals that you're taking that day. Also, if they're on any medication, we'll go over the medications that they need and how to give the medication. We'll process the paperwork, make sure that you have all the supplies that you need, and then we'll make sure that you know that there's a schedule for returning the animal, for vaccinations, for checkups, and so forth, and we'll review that as well. Also, you'll be given a sheet of information your first visit that has all the emergency contact numbers. Make sure to keep that handy. Don't throw that away when you bring your first foster animal back, because if you do decide to foster again, you want to make sure that you keep all that information. If you have children and you want to introduce your foster animals to them, we just want to make sure that you supervise them, especially for that first introduction. We do have a lot of foster families who really jointly foster, and that the kids are a really big part of the fostering process. And some of my greatest fosters are kids. But just make sure that when you do introduce your foster animal to the kids, that you're supervising them very closely, and that you talk to your kids about how to treat the foster animal. And we do have some really great little handouts that are very kid-friendly on how to interact with animals. So just let me know if you have any questions about that. But for the most part, if you teach your children to treat the foster animal like they would a small child, maybe a little sibling, a small child that they know, someone that, you know, they can think about, oh, how do I have to be gentle? How do I approach this person? In this case, approaching an animal would be very similar. You're respectful of their space. You make sure that you don't treat them roughly, that you don't yell, all the things that you would do with a small child. So after your children have met the foster animal, when do they need to know when to give the animal its space? When do they need to be able to just really respect that they need to sort of let the animal settle down? Well, for one thing, when they first arrive. I know it's really difficult. Kids get very excited and want to immediately run and hug the animal. It's probably not a good idea. Make sure that they understand that the animal might be scared, that everything is new, and that they need to step back and be quiet. They need to make sure that they give them their space. It's a really good lesson for the kids, too, to learn respect for an animal's space. When the animal's chewing anything, make sure the kids know not to bother the animal. If they're exploring, looking around, they're focused on checking out their new space, have the kids stand back and let the animal do that on their own. Definitely make sure that they don't disturb the animal when they're sleeping or eating, or if they're trying to go to the bathroom. And also, if they are picking up an animal, please make sure to teach them how to pick up the animal properly and how to pick up the animal slowly and give the animal notice that they're going to do that. One thing that I have noticed that can happen sometimes is that children can reach and grab to pick up an animal very quickly, and it can easily startle the animal, and we don't want the animal or the child hurt. So please make sure that you talk to your kids about how to handle them. Also, even though some children do take a very active role in fostering, please know that if your kids are going to be involved, that you still, as the adult, are ultimately responsible for the care of that animal. So make sure that if they are in charge of taking the animal out on the leash to go to the bathroom, or feeding them, or doing something else. Some of my older foster kids even help with medication, but make sure that you are always checking to make sure that everything is done properly and that it is done. It can be a really fabulous experience for parents and kids, and I've seen so much growth in kids who have gone through the process of fostering and seeing the animal eventually get adopted. Even though it can be challenging for children to let go, it's such a wonderful experience for them to be able to see that what they did saved a life, and then to move on to that next experience. For scheduling appointments, which is very important in helping us keep things running, you just need to contact me. If you don't already have an appointment scheduled or you need to change it, the best way to reschedule an appointment or to set an appointment is email, foster@ashevillehumane.org. That way it's easier for us to keep track of things. You can call me if you need to. My cell phone is 768-5451, but again, email's best. I do work 9 to 6, Tuesday through Saturday. And the reasons you might be calling to schedule an appointment or emailing to schedule an appointment or to reschedule is for medical treatment or a recheck. Normal rechecks we often have scheduled, but there are times that you might have an animal who maybe isn't quite over the cold yet. We'd scheduled for the animal to come back in, but still sneezing a little bit. So you may want to contact me and say, you know, still seeing a little sneezing, can we maybe postpone the appointment for another 2 or 3 days and see if that goes away? And we can do that. You also might be aware that the animal is ready to come back. Cold's gone. It may be a mom whose milk was drying up. We know that that's taken care of and done. So you're ready to schedule that animal to be returned. You might also want to contact me to schedule an appointment because there's an illness or something that's different that's going on that you might be concerned about, or maybe the animal that had a cold isn't doing well and you're concerned and would like the medical department to check them out. If you have a need for supplies, you can always contact me. Just, again, quick email, let me know you're looking for some supplies. I'll just make sure that we have that stocked for you. All our supplies are kept in the foster waiting area for you. If you do need to stop by just to pick some up, you can just come in the foster door anytime, 9 to 6, Tuesday through Saturday, and the food is on the shelves just for you to take as you need. If you need to bring your animal back before the scheduled time, please let me know as soon as possible that you need to do that so that we can make arrangements for the animal, especially if they do need to continue moving on to another foster home. We'll need to have space here, and then it will give me time to try to secure another foster home. If you're going to be going on vacation and you know what that time frame is, let me know as soon as as possible so that I can look to see if we can find maybe a vacation foster who can take the animal while you're gone, and then you can pick them up when you get back. Please try to be on time for appointments. Most of our fosters have very, very busy lives, and we want to try to really respect their time. So please make sure that you are on time for your appointments. And if you're running late, just let me know. Also, if you need to change your appointment, if you can give me at least 24 hours notice, that would be very helpful. Again, trying to keep the flow of things going so that your time is respected and that you're able to get in and out as quickly as possible. We all know that foster animals can have emergencies, and we want to make sure that you're really prepared for that. What we want to do is make sure that if something happens, that you have all the resources you need. One thing you don't do is, if it's an emergency, don't try to reach me. I'm afraid that what would happen is there'd be a bit of a delay. I may not always get to my phone or email quickly, so we want to make sure that you have a resource where you can quickly access assistance. So what you do is you would immediately call during the weekdays the emergency line, which is the sheltered front desk next door, and say, I'm a foster parent, this is a medical emergency. And that's during the daytime hours. If it's after hours and on nights, weekends, holidays, we do have someone who's on call, and that medical on-call number is 231-0365. So again, this information will be provided in your foster packet, and that's the one that you want to keep handy. Maybe even tack that up on your refrigerator. Any emergency care does have to be authorized, and we can't reimburse you for expenses if you don't go through the Humane Society to make sure that those can be approved. So when you call in and you have an emergency, the person on the other end may say, go ahead and take the animal to Reach emergency room. We would call ahead and let them know you're coming. That way it is authorized. It may be something we can handle here, and they may say, go ahead and bring the animal into us right away, and then they can handle the emergency when you get there. Or they may hear what you're saying and say, you know, that should be fine to wait until tomorrow, and then at that point they would let me know, or you can contact me directly by email and say, I would like to bring my animal in tomorrow to be looked at. I spoke to someone on the phone, and they suggested that they be seen by medical, and then we can schedule an appointment for that. So now you have a foster animal, and you want to do everything you can to make sure that they get the best home possible. And that's what we all think when we have a foster animal is, what can I do to make sure they get adopted? Well, one of the best ways is really just by talking about your foster animal. Be sure to take lots of pictures and put that on your cell phone. Show them to people you work with. Take the phone and show it to your friends. Go to work and show them what adorable foster animal you have. Anything that you can do to talk up your foster animal, you'll know more about the animal than even we will, because the animal's in your home. We do get a lot of our foster animals adopted by family members, friends, and co-workers of our foster parents. So please make sure and join in the fun by trying to promote your animal. And if you can get an adoptive home, you just let me know that you have someone interested, and we can follow up. Also, you can carry photos. Make sure that if you have a personal Facebook page and you want to post them, just be aware, though, that if you have a foster animal that they're in foster with you because they're not ready for adoption, so just be sure to let people know that they're not actually ready for adoption yet. You're just sort of getting the word out and making sure that when they are available, you might have someone who would be interested. You can also do a story or write-up for your foster animal and send me any pictures or videos that you have. That's really helpful, particularly for our adult animals. We find that especially helpful. People are always asking, you know, what would this dog be like in my home? Is the dog happy, rowdy, laid back, sedate? Does he like kids? Does he like other dogs? Often we don't really know that because what we see in the shelter might be very different than what we see in a home. So what you can do is do a write-up for us on your foster animal that really tells us and potential adopters what that animal's like in a home. It not only helps them get adopted, but it helps them get adopted into a home that's a good match for them and for the families. So that's something that you can do that is just a really wonderful resource for us and for the animal. And just again, be sure that people are aware that the animals that you have in foster care, for the most part, are not usually available yet. There are times if you take a dog for vacation that animal would be available, but in general, most of them are not yet cleared medically before they can be adopted. So just be sure that you let people know that. For foster dogs in particular, if you do take them out for walks to meet people, it not only socializes them, but it does help show them off a little bit too. So you can get an Adopt Me vest from us that you can put on them so that they can hang out, meet people. Hopefully it will create some conversation too with people, not only about that particular dog, but about adopting and fostering in general. So you can be a wonderful ambassador for the dog as well as for the foster program. So if you do decide to put your animal on your Facebook page, go ahead and you can make a little foster photo album. A lot of people do have multiple foster animals. You can put different types of pictures that show their personality. You know, you might have the fun side, and you might have the quiet side, and you might have a picture of your animal with children. Anything that you think might pique the interest of someone who might be interested in adopting. You can put information on Twitter and Pinterest too. Just to get the word out about your foster animal. Word of mouth really does go a long way. And the other thing that you can do as you're doing this is don't forget that you're also a great ambassador for recruiting additional foster parents. So not only can you talk to them about your animal, but about what you get out of fostering, that you get to save a life, that you get the fun of having an animal for a while. There's so many different benefits to it that you can help share with other people and hopefully encourage them to sign up to be foster parents as well. So your foster animal, you've brought them back, they're on the adoption floor, or they've already gone into a new home, and you're thinking about the next foster animal. Hopefully you're thinking about the next foster animal. We do want you to keep fostering. So what do? Well, we want to make sure that your home is sanitized in between your foster animals. So you want to take all the foster bedding and make sure that you wash it. Make sure that there's any toys that can't be washed, that you just go ahead and discard those. Disinfect all your washable surfaces with like a mild bleach water solution. That will make sure to kill any of the germs that are on the surfaces. Prepare it, clean up anything before, any of the organic matter, you know, the debris that's left over, and then leave it on for about 10 minutes, at least 10 minutes to make sure it's effective, but you can leave it on a little longer if you need to. Make sure your carpeted areas are fully vacuumed. If you can shampoo it, that's great. If not, at least make sure to vacuum thoroughly. You can soak all the toys in bleach water for about 20 minutes. I like to take, when I have foster kittens, take my litter box, get that clean, dump all the toys, everything inside that, fill it up with soap, water, and bleach, and let it all sit together. It's really easy and convenient. I usually put it right in the bathtub, and it works great, and doesn't take too much time either. Make sure to scrub and bleach any of your crates or carriers, food bowls, litter boxes. You can put all those in, get those nice and clean, and be ready to take on the next fosters. If you do have any areas that have been soiled, sometimes there are accidents, so you want to be prepared. You can use an enzyme cleaner and make sure that you get rid of, not only does it get rid of the stain, but good enzyme cleaner will also help get rid of the odor and hopefully prevent any accidents from future animals who might smell that. So make sure just to do a thorough cleaning in between your foster animals. It doesn't take a long time, and it really will set the stage for a good, healthy environment for the next one. If you have any questions, you can always contact me. You can email me again at foster@ashevillehumane.org, or give me a call at 828-768-5451. We do want to make this a good, positive experience for you, because what you're doing is truly saving lives. It's not just a cliche. You really are. We want to make sure that this is something that you want to continue to do, that you can speak proudly about being a foster parent. Our foster parents, really, they are such a backbone of what we do. So many of the animals at the shelter, the part of the process of going from the shelter to the adoption center depends on you. And we really, really do need foster parents to be able to help us save so many more lives. And through your help, we're able to do that. It really is a team process. You have just decided by doing this orientation that you are interested in becoming part of that team. And it's a wonderful team. There are lots of wonderful foster parents who can also share information with you. We can do whatever you need to do to make this work. One of the most important things, though, is just to make sure that we know what will work for you and that we can make a good match for you, for your environment, so that the experience is one that works. So you just need to let us know what works for you. Maybe you're a kitten person. Maybe you love big dogs. Whatever it is, just let us know and we'll try to find a match for you with an animal that's in need. We truly do appreciate your interest in becoming a foster parent, and I hope to see you really soon. Thank you.